In that best-selling baseball book by noted author Tim McIver on baseball for brain surgeons and other fans, there is a note in one of the chapters.
That is correct.
About never
hook slide into a catcher. You don't go in hands first, and you don't hook slide. See, by hook sliding, what a catcher can do is ward you off even with the glove, and that's what appeared to happen when Matheny had the glove there. The foot hit the glove instead of the plate, and then in trying to come back, Ordonez was tagged out.
You don't tug on Superman's cape. You don't spit in the wind, and you don't hook slide to the plate.
You got it, baby.
One strike count on Cal Eldred. We have no shame. What the heck?
Nope.
1 ball, 1 strike.
One of the interesting things about this also, Gary, is that had Brian McRae not called it to the attention of Ordonez to go back and tag the plate, had Ordonez just gotten up and gone into the dugout, Matheny may never have known that he missed the plate. See, the foot stays outside. It's tough to tell with that dust whether the mitt deflected the foot. It could have.
But see, the umpire made no call.
That's right.
And Pat, there we go. And Mike Matheny looked up at the umpire.
Yeah.
And when
Brian's doing his job,
yeah,
but not until he made the call, because the pitcher, Cal Eldred, is supposed to be behind home plate. But the pitcher is between home plate and the left field position. So Ordonez couldn't get back, and he's an out.
Wow. And so is Eldred. Cal Eldred, a strikeout victim. Second strikeout for Bobby Jones. Went away here in the 3rd inning. Vania doubled and scored. And Ray Ordonez won't hook slide into the plate anymore. Bobby Jones, the fastball, strike in the outside corner.
There's nothing that you don't get to the plate as quickly because your front foot goes by the plate, and then you try to tag it with your back foot. If this is a straight in slide right here, the front foot would get there quicker. We have a great view to show you exactly what we're talking about.
1 ball, 1 strike on Vania, who's batting at .313. He scored the run in the 1st inning. That one to second. Carlos Baerga gobbles that one up, 2 down.
Here's what we were talking about. Look at Ray Ordonez hook sliding as opposed to going straight in or going by the plate, touching the plate with your hand. Now that's acceptable. Matheny has to jump toward the first base side, and because of that hook slide, the trail leg comes across home plate. And then Brian McRae saying touch the plate, and Matheny looking back at the home plate umpire, and that called the attention to it. Bizarre.
Interesting play all around. Everybody trying to do their job all at once there, and who could get to the plate first. And it was Mike Matheny who got there and put the tag on. Mark Loretta has got a base hit into center field. Loretta, who grounded out his first time up, delivers a 2-out single here in the 3rd inning. That'll be the 3rd hit off Bobby Jones. The Brewers with a 2-1 lead. Potential tying run being taken down at the plate on the play we've shown you with Ordonez. And now a 2-out single by Loretta. And Jeremy Burnett's coming up. Must be the musical game. See, we've gotten Jim Croce in. We've gotten the Pat Matheny group. We've got the Beatles and Look Out Loretta.
Stephen Sondheim's not far away either.
Far away. Then 2 away. Burnett's hitting at .279 on the year. Picked up the RBI. The sacrifice fly in his first at bat, bringing Vania home in the 1st inning. And that one's going to be to Baerga. Great stop. Can he make the play at first? No. But a great effort. And he holds the runner at second base by keeping that ball in the infield.
As Fernando Vania was in the hole for Matt Franco, Carlos Baerga is in the hole for Jeremy Burnett. Much better reason or reasoning playing Burnett's in a hole because he's a real pull hitter. But again, an overshift and a base hit.
So the Brewers mounting a 2-out rally here with Loretta on at second base, the lead runner. Jeremy Burnett's on at first. 2 down. Jeff Cirillo coming to the plate. Cirillo popped out his first time up. Cirillo hitting at .290 on the year and .262 with runners in scoring position. Brewers with a chance to add to it here. They now have picked up 4 hits off Bobby Jones. Unlike Eldred, Jones came in with some great numbers. Only 36 hits in 51 innings coming into this game. Ray Ordonez moving in, had no light there on Loretta.
It's okay to hook behind second base when you're trying to catch the ball. You just don't do it to catchers. Looked like Ordonez tried to hook slide. Well, he's got some magical feet and hands, doesn't he?
That slide he makes in the hole coming up with ground balls out there. Cirillo, the .290 hitter, RBI opportunity for him. Fastball by Bobby Jones is inside, ball 1. It's a tough out. Jeff Cirillo batting in that cleanup hole is 8th in the league in walks. See that .295 average, 4 seasons with Milwaukee, the doubles he's put up over the last 2 years. All-star member.
May not be a power hitter, but he's a power gap hitter.
And that one's going to fall into right field for a base hit. Becker's up with it. Play coming to the plate. Here comes Loretta. He's in. And they've got 2 runners at second base. Cirillo kept going down to second. They've got a run down. Olerud chasing that lead runner, Burnitz. Back, and the tag will be put on. Jeremy Burnitz stopped at second base. Jeff Cirillo didn't stop at first. He went into second, was 2 steps away, and realized, oh my gosh, I'm not the only guy in this color uniform here. But they do get the run in. The Brewers are up 3-1. Now this word from Audi. Well, we've had the last 2 half innings, Timmy, ended with the last batter getting a base hit.
Well, one of the problems in having a catcher traded for in the middle of the season is he doesn't know all the Met plays. In Piazza's case, watch John Olerud make the cutoff right here and look toward home. Piazza, however, was backing up the play. Nobody at home. John had to look elsewhere, and really you have to charge Jeremy Burnitz with that mistake in not running, because if the runner from second tries to score, the runner from first has to try to go to third base. Burnitz didn't, and Cirillo, who made the right move, was hung out to dry at second.
That one ripped foul by Brian McRae. The RBI was credited to Cirillo for the 3rd run of the ball game. But Jeremy Burnitz, he's the man at second already there. See, Cirillo's also there, and Olerud just ran him back towards third. Matt Franco pitched it back, and Ordonez put the tag on. That's the final out of the inning. Went 9-3-5-6 on the putout on Burnitz. Inside. 2-ball, 1-strike count on McRae, who popped out his first time up. You don't get 2 half innings ended with guys who pick up base hits as the last guys to the plate very often. That's what happened, though, with Cirillo, and then, of course, the Mets ended it with Jones getting a base hit and Ray Ordonez thrown out at the plate.
Think about this. The Mets scored 1 run last half inning with a double, single, strikeout, double, single. 4 of the 5 guys had base hits. They scored 1 run.
Ouch. Brian McRae's on with a walk. And Eldred's problem of not getting the leadoff man this season continues here. Leadoff man on with Gilkey coming up. This break in the action, a great time to break with a great taste of Bud Light. A big hit with fans everywhere because it won't fill you up and never let you down. So make it a Bud Light. Brian McRae on at first. Gilkey had a single his first time up. First walk given up by Eldred in the ball game. Eldred had walked 37 coming into the game. Burnitz and Gilkey, the fly ball out to right field. First ball hitting off Eldred. 1 away. That'll bring up Piazza. Been a long time since we've seen people standing on the subway ramp steps watching a baseball game.
Well, Mike Piazza's strong enough to hit one there, even though it is right field. Matter of fact, he's got as much power to right as left.
Fouls that one back. Piazza popped out his first time up. He's hitting .279 on the season. This is a .334 career hitter coming into this season. And you know he'll put even bigger numbers up once he finally gets settled in. 5 games he played in Florida. That was it. And moving on to the Mets yesterday. First game in the 1-for-4. 1 ball, 1 strike count on Piazza. McRae still on at first base. Truly amazing response by the fans to Piazza here in the first 2 days in New York. 1 ball, 1 strike count on him. Each team with 5 hits now. That one ripped foul again, and a 1 ball, 2 strike count on him.
We said earlier that the Mets head to Florida after an off day tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday nights, and we'll carry that game on Tuesday night. Mike Piazza will go into Florida for the second time this year, second team this year, in a road uniform before the 1st of June.
And having already played for that team for 5 games himself.
So he's worn 1 white uniform and 2 road uniforms at Pro Player Park in South Florida.
Unbelievable. Looking at his home batting average this year will be meaningless. Here's the 1-2 delivery, and that one's popped up outside of first and foul. Stays 1-2. He was adamant that there wasn't going to be any deal originally. But then some other teams started talking to him about potential other deals, and they still are talking. And he said, I felt we're going to get some more deals done to help this team so that I could go ahead and make the deal for Piazza. Clearly one of those involves one of the discussions is about Baerga at second base. The Mets are talking with a number of teams. The Orioles were clearly one of them. They were going to. The discussion was that Olerud and Baerga would go to Baltimore for Roberto Alomar and Rafael Palmeiro. That deal seems to be dead. 2-2 popped up again. Again second base. Fernando Vena. 2 down.
Very close at first base. Matter of fact, Brian McRae, going back without sliding, almost came off the bag. Had Nilsson stayed with that tag, or perhaps stayed with it, he possibly could have gotten McRae. See, Brian comes off that bag right there. That's why it's always best when in doubt, slide.
Just got back. So McRae still on at first base after getting the leadoff walk, and John Olerud, who grounded out his first time up. Throw over by Eldred. Gray, of course, the leading base stealer, 10 for 14 in stolen bases. So Eldred will keep an eye on him here with 2 away. 3-1 lead for the Brewers. 3rd inning. Olerud to short. Hauled in by Loretta, and that will do it. No runs, no hits, a base runner left on. We've completed 3 in this Sunday at Shea. Brewers on top. Back after this from Chrysler. Brewers leading this game by a score of 3-1 before a sellout crowd. The first sellout the Mets have had since April 5, 1993. Mike Piazza, Tim McCarver is the primary reason.
Oh, absolutely. Even though today is a giveaway day. But the walk-up crowd yesterday, keep in mind Friday evening, from Friday evening to the walk-up at 4 o'clock yesterday, a 13,000 walk-up crowd yesterday. 32 in the park, and as Gary said, a full house today as Dave Nilsson's the batter. He homered his last time up, his first home run of the year, and he takes strike 1 from Bobby Jones. Nothing in 1 to Dave Nilsson. 1-1. So that's 13,000, and we figured about 20 bucks a pop, generally speaking, per person for concessions, parking, what have you, ticket prices. A rule of thumb, I guess. So that's 100. What? Ground ball, right side, and Nilsson now finds a hole between Baerga and the second base bag. So Nilsson, whose nickname is Thunder, has hit 2 balls hard today, and that'll bring up Marquise Grissom. But we're talking about the economics of what Mike Piazza would mean to the New York Mets. The Mets since Piazza came last night, including yesterday afternoon and night's game, will have 54 home dates with Piazza playing. Say he averages 10,000 more in the park per game. And that's reasonable to assume with the way he was accepted yesterday as we look at the Nobody Beats the Wiz scoreboard. Or, you know, that's $200,000 a game, or about close to $11 million extra in income to the Mets, which would make it easier to either sign Piazza or go out and sign a free agent this winter.
And you make money, period.
Yep.
Because you made the deal.
Yep.
More than you would have otherwise.
And our Toyota American League scoreboard, the Yankees all over Boston and Brett Saberhagen up at Fenway.
Doc Gooden's been touched up by 3 runs against Toronto in his first start for Cleveland.
1-1 to Grissom, and this one poked foul, a ball and 2 strikes. So many scenarios with the Piazza deal. If Piazza is, of course, I mean, he could be traded in late August. We even posed that to Steve Phillips, and we'll probably pose it again as John Franco, who gave Piazza his number 31. John Franco volunteered that number. And Grissom down on strike. Strikeout number 3 for Bobby. That'll bring up Jeff Jenkins, the left fielder. But say Grissom is traded in August to September 1. That would prevent him, or Piazza, that would prevent him from being a free agent at the end of the year, and the Mets could conceivably get more for Piazza in August than they had to give away in Preston Wilson, Ed Yarnell, a left-handed pitcher, and the player to be named later.
There's any question his value is only going to go up.
Yeah.
Clubs that are looking to be in the playoffs, which is one of the reasons the Mets acquired him, of course.
And
as the season goes along, if the question we posed is whether or not Steve Phillips, if the New York Mets should not be in contention late in the year, then clearly other clubs are going to want to pick up Piazza, and the Mets would be able to get probably about whatever they wanted to ask in return.
Certainly one would figure with Mike's value that it would be more than, as we said, the 3 minor leaguers that they had to give up. And we are told that Jeffrey Getz, who was the first-round draft choice last year of the Mets, will be the player to be named later. Now, if the Mets keep him till the end of the season, and they probably would certainly keep him. If they can't sign him, they'll keep him if they're close in September. Then he becomes a free agent. Breaking ball and a beauty right there. The ball and 2 strikes to Jeff Jenkins. The Mets would get a first-round draft choice and a sandwich pick, which would mean the pick between the first and the second round, which would be either the 31st or 32nd round, depending on who else had a sandwich pick, how many other teams. There goes the runner, a huge jump. Fortunately for the Mets, a fly to center, but McRae tracking back to make the play. A running lead at first base by Dave Nilsson. He saw Olerud not going back to the bag. Jones didn't step off. McRae hauls it in, 2 outs.
Another one of those defensive play by the Mets. See where Olerud is here with a left-handed hitter up. He's playing defense rather than holding the runner, and a huge jump there for Nielsen. I mean, he was down to second base almost before the ball was delivered to the plate, but McRae made the good play in center.
Gary, you and I talked about it in spring training. That's one of the drawbacks to that play, with Olerud playing off the bag, and now he's holding Nilsson on, with Mike Matheny coming up, and he lifts one to shallow right. Becker to his left and now in makes the play. So for the first time in this game, the Brewers fail to score. Gary and I will be right back right after this from Ford. The Brewers, with solo runs in the first 3 innings, lead the Mets 3-1. The Mets scoring in the bottom of the second. And today's game is brought to you by, oh, what a shot that is, of Our Lady in the Harbor. Game brought to you by Nobody Beats the Wiz, your total home entertainment center. Also by your local Greater New York Toyota dealer. Toyota every day. Ellis Island.
We send along, obviously, remembrances. This Memorial Day weekend is what it's all about for those who made the supreme sacrifice for their country, and all the relatives that they remember today, we remember with them. Great. I was in Washington yesterday, actually, and had a chance to go over to Arlington and to the Vietnam War Memorial. Huge lines there. Nice to see.
Carlos Baerga, it's nice to see him getting on track, say Mets fans. He doubled his first time up and scored the only run of the game for the Mets. Carlos now at the 270 mark. Fastball inside corner, strike one. 1-1 to Baerga.
All of a sudden, Timmy, any discussions about Baerga being traded become a little more iffy for the Mets with his bat going, and more pronounced for teams that are looking at him.
Lined off the glove of Nilsson, trickling into shallow right field, and Baerga's going to try for two and make it. Had Nilsson not touched that ball, it may have been foul. But the ball off the end of the glove of Nilsson, and Baerga has his second straight double.
Watch where this ball is going down the line now. Nielsen is in fair territory. So once he touches that fair territory, it's a fair ball, and slows it down enough going over to that foul wall to give Baerga plenty of time to go into second base.
Mets have had their leadoff man on in the last 3 innings. Baerga's been 2 of them with 2 doubles, and here's Matt Franco, who's singled in a run off the leg of Eldred, barehanded by the third baseman Cirillo, and an infield hit for Matt Franco. What a bizarre game we have had. That ball is going all over the place.
That thing went up in the air like a pop-up. Bill Garner not concerned because Eldred says he's okay. That may have hit the pitching slab as well by the way that went up in the air. If that had gone that high in the air, hitting him in the leg, he'd be laying on the ground. See where this hits? I think that went right off the front of the slab. He slid his foot away, and the ball went right off the pitching rubber and right straight up in the air. Cirillo caught it coming down, but had no play.
So here's Rich Becker. He struck out his first time up. First and third, and nobody out for the Mets. Ball 1. So Baerga doubles off the glove of Nilsson, and Franco doubles off the slab of Eldred. Mets trail by 2, threatening here in the 4th. Loop to left and foul, and out of play. 1-1 to Rich Becker. That is a defensive swing in an offensive situation. Rich Becker just waving at that ball. Like to see that healthy cut when a hitter is ahead in the count. If that's an 0-1 or 0-2 strike swing, then you could certainly understand it. 1-1 to Becker. Looped there, down the third base line. Becker to second, Franco to third. As Baerga scores, it's now 3-2 Milwaukee. 3 of the funkiest hits you'll ever see.
Unbelievable inning.
No pictures, just numbers.
Cal Eldred and Phil Garner got to be wondering, oh, what is going on here? That ball, talk about just trying to protect the plate here. Watch this. Off the end of the bat, after the big cut, left him with not much to get to the outside pitch, and it just squirts by Cirillo at third into foul territory. Scoring by Baerga, and plenty of time for the double for Becker.
Double number 4 for Becker, RBI number 9, and for the Mets in this inning, it's like birdie in a hole without being in the fairway. Off a tree and into the hole. Ordonez takes ball 1. Now, we've seen Ordonez. Matter of fact, he did it once against Milwaukee this year. Bunt toward first base in this situation. That way you could score Matt Franco. It's a form of a safety squeeze with the push bunt. Not only score Franco, but send Becker to third. Outside, ball 2, 2-0. Usually on a play like that, it's left to the discretion of the batter. Now, Dave Nilsson is not agile at first base. Meanwhile, Phil Garner moving his left fielder, Jeff Jenkins, in. 3-2 Milwaukee. High, ball 3. 3-0.
Eldred may be willing here to have Ordonez on base with Bobby Jones coming up, even though Jones got his first hit of the year off Eldred and in this ball game.
Well, it's 3-0 to Ray Ordonez. He doubled his last time up. The Mets with 4 doubles, but they trail 3-2. There's a strike on the corner.
Matheny probably wants to know now, what do we want to do here?
Try to keep the ball away, I would think. Try to throw a pitch like he did on the 3-0 count. Well, I'll tell you, that little white rat's taken some zany bounces today so far. 2 guys thrown out at the plate. 1 base running foul up by the Brewers that ended the top of the 3rd inning. 3-1 now to Ordonez. Nobody out. 2nd and 3rd for the Mets. Outside, ball 4. So Ordonez walks. And here comes Don Rowe, the pitching coach. You know, now you have an interesting situation, Gary, in that normally with nobody out, you don't bunt. You don't try to squeeze. However, with Bobby Jones, the batter, and you know how unpredictable Bobby Valentine can be. I mean, that's an adage in baseball forever, because if Jones strikes out or hits into a double play, at least 1 run scored, the game is tied. But here, if Bobby could make contact, even if Franco is thrown out at home plate, well, then you still have the bases loaded and only 1 out.
And Bobby's a very good bunter.
Yeah,
he's got 3 sacrifices. There's no warm-up action in the bullpen. This meeting out there is all about what's he going to do here. What's Valentine going to call for?
And the downside of trying to bunt here is if you do send Franco and Bobby bunts through the ball, Franco is out. You still have the pitcher hitting with runners on at 2nd and 3rd, but 1 out. So that's the downside of bunting with Jones.
About a safety squeeze here.
Well, you do have a force at home. That goes against the safety squeeze. Infield double play depth, and this one lifted to left. Jenkins has already 1 assist, and he throws home, and it's cut off as Franco forced to stay at 3rd base. With 1 out, I think Franco tries it, but with nobody out, you can't afford it.
He turned right away, Franco did, to Cookie Rojas as he went back to the bag. What do you want me to do, is what he was asking. Jenkins went backwards to get momentum for the throw and really ripped off a pretty bad throw. Right at the mound, in fact. But that's not a situation where you're going to send Matt Franco.
Yeah, if you get rid of the ball quickly as an outfielder, that's going to stop the runner.
Yep.
Okay, the base is loaded now with 1 out. It's still 3-2 Brewers. The Mets have out hit Milwaukee 8-6, but they trail by a run. And here's Brian McRae, who's 0 for 1. Low, ball 1. Not only is Baerga hot in May, so is McRae. Deep to left center field. Back is Grissom. Short hops the wall. 3 runs are going to score. It's 5-3 New York.
McRae, leading this team in doubles, now has a dozen of them and 3 more RBIs. And you talk about a jump. Ray Ordonez at first base never hesitated. When this ball was hit, Ordonez took off. Ray Ordonez almost caught up with Becker coming to the plate. The play made by Marquise Grissom, but watch at the plate. The base runners coming in were all three of them right together.
Looks like an accordion.
1, 2, 3.
A baseball runner's accordion, and McRae a threat to steal third base with Gilkey up there and one out. Ray Ordonez, the minute he saw Marquise Grissom look toward the wall, I mean, did he turn it on and scores right behind Becker, and the Mets lead it by 2.
In his back pocket when he got there.
Curveball low. 1 ball, no strikes now to Gilkey. Bernard is 1 for 2 on the afternoon. This one hit hard. Right center field. Grissom over. Can't get to it. McRae's going to score. Gilkey's going to try for 3. Out at third. Cookie Rojas will argue now, saying that Gilkey had a hand in there, but he certainly had a hand in driving in that run as McRae scores 6-3 New York.
Marquise Grissom had that ball just out of his reach, and the play was directly in front of Gilkey, of course. Gilkey saw the ball trickle away, so he kept on going. The relay throw coming into Cirillo. Rojas thought he'd gotten in underneath it. Loretta, the shortstop, made the relay throw. Very close play. The hands and the ball.
Looked like he was in there. You could see Cookie Rojas saying the left hand was in there, but it was, Gary, very, very close. Understandable that either side gets a call like this. Tough call.
Larry Poncino right there. I mean, he had the view of it.
So the hands do not beat the ball into third, but the hand you heard from Mike Piazza. Base hit left field. And the Mets have batted around here in the 4th inning and lead it 6-3.
Timmy, tells you something about the state of the Milwaukee pitching staff and their bullpen. They have not had a reliever up yet. This is the first call down there, and Eldred is getting hammered. That's 11 hits off the starter here in this game, and I mean, these balls are being tagged.
Probably a combination of things, as you see Al Reyes now warming for the Brewers. I think Phil Garner trying to get Cal Eldred a win here. He's 0-3 on the year. And the ineffectiveness of the Milwaukee staff as Olerud takes ball 1. John is 0 for 2. He's hit the ball well a couple of times. 11 hits, and we're only in the 4th. Little looper in the center, and Grissom is running all over the place out there. Makes the catch as the Mets bat around and score 5 times. 6-3 New York. Back after this from Bud Light. Bobby Valentine trying to see the Mets go 5-1 on this. Make that 6-1. They are 5-1 on this homestand after that 2-5 West Coast trip. So the Mets rebounding very well here at Shea Stadium. Take a look at the new Dodge quiz. Which given first name is shared by the following: Rick Dempsey, Rocky Rowe, Boog Powell, Honus Wagner, and Mickey Rivers? And a fastball on the outside corner to Cal Eldred. A little surprised he's batting here.
I just think there's a little pressure being put on here by Phil Garner on this whole staff, I think, today. I think he's really saying to them, your game, you get out there and you pitch, and you get hammered, you're going to stay out there and pitch. I think there's some of that going on with this team right now all the way around.
Eldred gave up 6 hits in the 4th inning. He's given up 6 doubles, 5 singles, 6 earned runs, and trails 6-3. That's a 1-ball, 2-strike count on Cal Eldred, and he strikes out.
Eldred had always been noted before the operation as being a guy who ate up innings. He was one of those innings pitchers. Went on and on, would pitch through, and yeah, it looks like he's going to be asked to do that today.
Milwaukee trying to avoid the sweep, but they trail by 3 here in the top of the 5th. That'll bring up Fernando Vina, the second baseman. And it's low to Vina. Now, a lot has been said in the Piazza trade that Mike was a catcher that was not accepted by the Los Angeles Dodger pitching staff. High to Vina. Ramon Martinez making a comment in particular about Charles Johnson, saying that the Dodger pitchers will have more confidence in throwing the ball in the dirt, perhaps with a runner on at third base, because Johnson will block it. And it almost hits Vina. It's 3-0. Let's take a look in the 5 years that Mike Piazza has caught the Los Angeles Dodger pitching staff. The only real bad year was the strike year back in 1994. Finished no worse than 3rd in earned run average. Now, granted, that may not take into account not throwing runners out or wild pitches or pass balls, calling the game, things of that nature. But nonetheless, the Los Angeles staff did very well for the most part when Piazza was their catcher. And it's a full count to Fernando Vina.
Timmy, on throwing runners out, we checked this year and had the Mets PR staff give us a number here. He's thrown out 13 of 54. That's 25%. That's acceptable.
Vina lines one to center field. The average about 31, 32%. But keep in mind that the Dodger pitchers, for the most part, are all right-handers.
And don't hold running.
Absolutely not. Dave Wallace, who was the Dodger pitching coach last year, telling us this spring that he tried to, convince the Dodger pitchers to hold the runners closer. But a lot of the Dodger pitchers are power pitchers. Hideo Nomo, Ishmael Valdez, Ramon Martinez. And power pitchers take longer to get to the plate than other guys. We're not making excuses for Piazza, because at his very best, he's not the best catcher defensively in baseball. Everybody knows that. As Mark Loretta fouls it off.
Biggest question are his knees.
Right.
Can he physically withstand the task of catching? He himself said, it may be time. Maybe I need to be in a situation where I can DH, or, now of course it would be the American League, or get some time in somewhere else in the field at like first base.
High to Loretta, 1-1 to Mark. Now, when and if Todd Hundley comes back this year, where do you put Mike Piazza? Perhaps create a new position and call it short first.
Halfway down.
Have Olerud move in, more experience, have Mike on the bag, and Todd Hundley behind the plate with 2 outfielders.
And we should mention Todd. I mean, this has been very tough on Todd Hundley.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
We asked Todd if he would like to come up today to talk about it on the air with us. And obviously, I think as we expected, he said no. I think that's a fair response. He wants this just to die down a bit.
Inside corner to Loretta, 1-2.
He was busting his hump to get ready to come back for this team. Our understanding is doctors had told him a long time ago that it would be best for him not to play this year at all. But he felt he needed to get ready and come back and play for the Mets, and so he's worked hard at that. And now all of a sudden, somebody's in front of him. And he's upset. And
with the addition of Mike Piazza, obviously there is not a pressing need for Hundley to come back. As a matter of fact, Todd's made some statements in the paper saying, I think I'll go down to Florida and kick back. And that's obviously, you could read the sarcasm in Todd's words. He's emotionally upset, and I don't blame him.
No. And neither does Steve Phillips blame him.
No, that's right.
Steve said to us.
Understandable.
I understand it.
Yeah.
He's a professional. He wants to play. We made a move. And I would expect no other reaction from Todd Hundley other than one he's given.
Still 1 ball, 2 strikes to Mark Loretta. The Mets on top 6-3. They took the lead for the first time in this game with 5 in the 4th. John Olerud was asked about a trade. If you're going to move Hundley to first base or put Piazza at first base, since Hundley is the better of the 2 defensively, he's a better thrower. Foul back, still 1-2 to Loretta. So many scenarios, so many things that honestly you just have to wait until they unfold, see how fast Hundley comes back, if he comes back this year, whether the Mets can maintain credibility, perhaps a shot at the wild card berth. There goes Pena. Fastball is outside. The throw. Out at second base. 2 outs.
We thank him for contributing to our discussion.
Yes.
Timmy, you're the former catcher, but this is a mighty quick release. He had that one there in plenty of time, and Ordonez way down the line here towards first.
Good pitch to Handle, and a rocket to second gets Pena. And Loretta down on strikes. Still 6-3. Mets, middle of the 5th. Back after this from Seagate Technologies. Piazza threw out Fernando Pena. He did something that you rarely see. A fastball was called for on the outside part of the plate. Now look at Piazza. He sees Pena running. He gets up. Bobby Jones cooperates. It's almost like a pitch out, even though it wasn't totally, but it was certainly out of the reach of Loretta. And Piazza gets his first runner in a Mets uniform.
And you saw him snap his glove a little there, Timmy, as though he was telling Bobby Jones, get me this ball up here. And Jones did. And
right now, a lot of the Mets pitchers don't know exactly what Mike is doing back there because this is only the second game he's worked.
John Olerud, you see Piazza talking to Olerud. I also bet you that Olerud gave out a pretty good holler that time. Baerga to second base, played by Pena. Baerga is finally out of there. 2 doubles and 2 runs scored in his first 2 at-bats. 1 away here in the 5th inning. Piazza clearly knew the runner was going. He either saw it out of the peripheral vision or Olerud let out that long yell. He's running. Piazza came up, and Bobby Jones cooperated, and they got the out. So 1 away here in the 5th inning. Mets on top 6-3, out hitting the Brewers 11-7 in this game. 1 down, Franco. Franco's had a big day. A couple of singles, an RBI, and a run scored for Matt. And Eldred pitches inside. Franco getting obviously limited playing time, starting at third today. Edgardo Alfonso has had a hamstring problem, which appears to be all right. This appears to be a day where he's getting that extra day off with a day off tomorrow so that that leg can fully heal. Fastball misses inside. 2 ball, 1 strike count. There's Edgardo Alfonso. Be back in the lineup here when the Mets open up on Tuesday on the road in Florida. 2-1 delivery down to first. Playing the line that time, Nielsen makes the pickup. Franco's retired, and there are 2 down in the Mets half of the 5th inning.
Right fielder.
Take a look at our new Dodge quiz. Which given first name shared by Dempsey, Rowe, Powell, Wagner, and Rivers?
I think it's John, only because I remember Powell's name is John Boog Powell.
There it is. John Peter Honus Wagner. That one ripped foul by Rich Becker.
Mickey Rivers of note, when once apprised by Reggie Jackson that Reggie had an IQ of 160, Mickey said, is that out of 1,000?
They changed the scale. Becker, good off-speed pitch by Eldred.
Mickey Rivers, one of the real characters in our game. What a funny man. Could play, too.
And Eldred has a good inning. Retires the side in order for the first time. 6-3. Mets on top. Back after this from Nobody Beats the Wiz. Gary Thorne, Tim McCarver, and our crew. Great to have you with us here at Shea Stadium on this Memorial Day weekend. A beautiful day for baseball and a good day for the Mets so far, but not for the mascots. The mascots took on the Boy Scout troop on hand here today in a tug-of-war matchup between innings, and got him.
Predictable victory there.
Bobby Jones, who's won his last 2, gets the strike here on Jeremy Burnitz. Bobby went 8 innings against both San Diego and Cincinnati in his last 2 starts. coming away with the wins. It's today with an RBI sac fly. Jones seen the Mets battle from behind in this game. And the count goes to 2 strikes on Burnett, sitting at 283 with 10 home runs on the season. Burnett's in the off-speed pitch. John Olerud hauls it in. Love salute to the first baseman.
You know, Gary, a lot of times on an off-speed pitch like that curveball, the second baseman will have a word sign with his first baseman, making him aware that a left-handed pull hitter like Burnett's will pull the ball even more than he ordinarily does. Olerud with a nice jump to make the play.
1 down. Cirillo's had an RBI single, and he has popped out, hitting .294 for the moment. We promised you Steve Phillips, the GM of the New York Mets and the executive of the year to be in Major League Baseball, obviously. I mean, that's obvious at this point. Wait, we haven't turned your mic on yet. Hang on. You're on the spare mic. Hang on. They're going to turn it on for you. Here's the 0-1 delivery. That one hit the center field. McRae. What do you want to know?
I wanted to know if you guys vote in that selection.
Well, it's like, you know, we're not allowed to vote, though, for your own club's people. Really? We have to vote for somebody else, but don't worry.
Okay.
All the other
Talk to all your friends.
Yeah, all our friends are for you now. You're a genius now.
It's amazing how that changes from day to day.
Have you done any more deals while we've been on the air?
Should I break it with you guys?
Well, we'd like that.
That'd be wonderful.
We'd like that.
No, not yet. We haven't. Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
Okay. Jones has got 2 down. Dave Nielsen is up, a home run and a single for Nielsen today. First home run of the season.
It could be construed that when you said yet.
Because he was supposed to be here in the 3rd, and it's the 6th. And we know you were on the phone. I mean, we got spies here. You've been on the phone.
I have been on the phone, but not today, probably.
Ooh, not today.
Probably in a yet. Thank you very much.
It's a day off tomorrow, right?
You have to put a disclaimer on it.
Day off tomorrow.
You like doing things on day off.
Ooh. We're so close to having the scoop, but I just know he's not going to give it to us. 3-0 count on Nielsen.
Steve shaking his head like no chance.
No chance.
No chance.
No. Well, they're renegotiating for TV rights, so if we put in a few more dollars into the pot, next year we'll get it.
That's our strategy.
That's your strategy, yeah. 3-0 delivery by Bobby Jones, 3-1.
Well, your strategy so far this week has been very, very unpredictable, Steve.
Been unpredictable and at least well received so far, I'd say. So we're going to keep hiding things, I guess, and springing it on you. So we'll see what happens.
3-1, foul back. Now, you told Timmy and I, talking with you before the game, that one of the reasons the Piazza deal came was because you feel you're close to making some more deals.
Yeah, I think that my conversations with other clubs have evolved significantly from really the process from opening day. Early on, I'd make proposals and get no thanks, you know, and that's it. Now it's like, well, you know, that's fairly interesting. Let me talk to my manager about it and we'll get back to you. So things are progressing along those lines.
Struck him out. Good inning for Bobby Jones, who retires the side in order. 6 Ks in the game now for Jones. We'll be back. Talk some more to the Mets GM. They've got the lead right after this from Toyota. New York Mets leading this one by a score of 6-3. They are trying to sweep this 3-game series from Milwaukee and extend their win streak to 4 games before they head out on the road. Steve Phillips, GM of the New York Mets, joining us here. Steve, one of the other factors we had mentioned, we were just talking about it here between innings, what he does to the rest of the lineup for the Mets.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, I think a lot of the hitters are going to benefit. They're going to take some of the pressure off of them. You know, Butch Husky, Baerga, guys like that, even Bernard, they're not going to have to be the guy to get the hit. We spread it around a little bit, and I think it's going to have a nice effect on everybody.
Back to work, Eldred against Ordonez. Ray Ordonez walked his last time up and scored on the bases loaded double picked up by McRae. Ordonez has a double of his own. That one to short. Loretta, 1 down in the 6th.
And I'm sure, Steve, that you weighed the positive effect that Mike would have on the offense to the unknown effect that he possibly could have with the best pitching staff in baseball as far as the earned run average. The Mets with 5 shutouts this year, a 3.02 collective team average, and Mike Piazza coming in having only hit against these pitchers and never having caught them.
Yeah, certainly. I think with any catcher, you have to weigh the effect he's going to have working with the pitching staff. And that's where Dave Wallace came in for me. I mean, if you look at the Dodgers pitching staffs that he's worked with, although he's an offensive catcher, they've also been very close to the league lead in ERA over the last several years. And Dave Wallace was the pitching coach there. And certainly I went to him and he said, look, he said, not only is he a great offensive player, he'll handle these pitchers for you. You'll have to work with him and guide him through it, especially breaking him in early, but he'll do a fine job for you.
Bobby Jones, who didn't have a hit coming into this game, has got 2. He was 0 for 13. He has delivered 2 singles. And Eldred has now given up a dozen hits, and Bobby Jones has 2 of them.
That's like we said, Piazza would help everybody in the lineup with their hitting. And
you didn't know he'd help your pitching staff.
We thought he might. You know?
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, my gosh, the things you knew.
But also talking about that what many consider, me included, an absurd remark by Brett Butler in spring training about Mike Piazza being a selfish ball player.
Well, I think every player has his own opinion of every other guy. I think that Brett unfortunately offered it without ever having done it to Mike's face, and I think that was unfortunate. And Brett's a good guy. I think he's well respected in the game, which was even more surprising. But the teammates in Los Angeles were quick to defend Mike Piazza there, and Dave Wallace was quick to defend him as well here. So I think so far he's going to fit in well, and I think we're excited to see how the rest of the season goes with him.
McRae up with a runner at first base, and a strike on the outside corner to him. The contract discussions with Piazza, will you begin them?
Well, we're going to announce a deal after the game. No, I'm kidding. Wait, we're going to get together. I'm going to get together with his agent in Florida just to say hello and how are you guys doing? What are you thinking about everything that's transpired? We'll talk about it, but I can't see anything happening quickly. I think we want to let him get comfortable, let us get comfortable, and we'll talk about where we go with it. We may wait. We may look to move forward with something.
1 ball, 1 strike on Brian McRae. He's now hitting at .252. He's had a great homestand. He's now had 8 hits in his last 25 at-bats, including a bases-loaded double that cleared him. 3 RBIs for him in this ball game that put the New York Mets on top.
Steve and Gary, I think one of the more interesting aspects of Piazza's change from coast to coast, from going to Los Angeles to New York, has gone from an apathetic crowd to a crowd that has not only embraced him, but I mean, just 2 weeks ago he was booed in Los Angeles, and yesterday cheered as the savior here in New York. I mean, what an emotional 8 days to 2 weeks it's been for Mike Piazza.
Oh, there's no question. I think he said it yesterday, what an overwhelming feeling it was for him to come here and the reception that he got yesterday at the stadium, and obviously here again today. So it certainly has been an emotional roller coaster from him, not knowing where he's going. I think he's got to be very happy here.
That ball hit high in the air to right field. Burnett's drifts back, is under it, and puts it away. McRae retired. Jones at first, 2 down.
I mean, for years, the Los Angeles crowd, they're famous for arriving late at a ballpark, leaving early. And I asked Mike before the game today if he had ever remembered a response in Los Angeles like that, and he kind of played it down, but I can't ever remember seeing him get that kind of response in L.A.
No, I can't either. I think that New York Mets fans particularly were hungry for a player like this, and we're glad to have been able to provide him, and now we're looking for that impact he's going to have on our club.
And that pitch is taken for a strike. Bernard Gilkey, an RBI double in this ball game, and a single. 2 for 3. His average now up to 257. Eldred's got a runner on at first base with 2 down, and the breaking ball misses outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Steve, you've talked about wanting to improve this ball club more, saying there are things out there in the field you want to do. What is it you want to get done?
Well, I think if we could continue to add some offense to our team, I'd like to try to do that. I think we have the pitching depth and flexibility to still be open to some considerations along those lines. So certainly Mike Piazza the last 2 days has added some spark to where everybody's swinging the bats better. But if we could find a way to improve the offense that little bit more, I'd like to try to do that.
Power?
If we could do it. Speed, we really don't have a lot of team speed here. So, I mean, I'd be open to doing it in a couple of ways.
2 ball, 1 strike count. And a towering pop-up. Second base. Vigna's back. And he's got it. You hang on for another half inning.
We're glad to do it.
Good. We don't want to take you away from the phone now because we're still looking for that scoop.
They'll come get me.
Okay. We'll be back after this word from Bud Light. This copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by Sterling Doubleday Enterprises solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, or use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Sterling Doubleday Enterprises is prohibited. Any commercial or other use of the program, such as by charging admission for its showing, is likewise prohibited. Gary Thorne, Tim McCarver, joined by Steve Phillips, the GM of the New York Mets. The line over the first 6-12-0 for the Mets, 3-7-0. For the Brewers, and Bobby Jones out there looking for his third consecutive win and his fourth of the year.
Milwaukee putting up a mini picket fence the first 3 innings with 1 in the first, 2nd, and 3rd. They led 3-1, but the Mets exploded for 5 in the bottom of the 4th inning. Marquise Grissom takes a slider outside and low, 1-0 to Grissom, who was 0 for 2 on the afternoon.
I thought one of the great points you made, Steve, we talked about it earlier, but I'd like to hear it from you in the Piazza deal, is the fact somebody else didn't get him.
Well, I think that's one of the advantages. Certainly the worst case scenario is we get prospects back if we don't re-sign them, and we get the services for the 120 games in the season, but we also prohibited any of our opponents from picking them up and having to play against them, and that's a real benefit.
Brian McCray, fighting the sun, made the play in center field. 5 in a row, retired by Bobby Jones. 1 out here in the 7th. And left fielder Jeff Jenkins coming up. You know, with all of the comments and all of the scenarios that are potentially to be played out, I found it very interesting for Fred Wilpine's very candid quotes in the paper about the very fact that he's a businessman, he's a realist, and he realized that by getting Mike Piazza, it put fannies in the seats, and that's what it's done, short time.
Well, there's no question. I think that certainly every decision we make has a baseball perspective to it and a business perspective to it, and you always have to take everything into account. I think that this is not only a great baseball move for us, but also has a substantial business effect as well. I think it also has a real credibility effect. I think that there was probably some credibility questions with the franchise. Were we committed to winning? Were the owners committed to spending money? I think this clearly sent the message out to fans, and I think they have responded because they got what they wanted to hear.
No balls and a strike to Jeff Jenkins. Jenkins is 0 for 2. As a matter of fact, the bottom part of the order today, Bobby has handled very, very effectively. They are 0 for 9, slots 6 through 9. It's 6-3 Mets here in the 7th.
Steve, you talked with a lot of teams, and obviously you're not going to tell us what those discussions are, but is it fair to say here, from everything else I've been reading elsewhere too, Baltimore and the Chicago White Sox and the Texas Rangers are 3 teams that are looking to make moves? They're out there aggressively.
Well, Texas has gotten off to a pretty good start. They're scoring a lot of runs, and they have some pitching depth of their own, so they're not looking to tinker a whole lot. You know, the White Sox, what we know that a lot of people don't know, there are a lot of no-trade clauses with some of these veteran players, and there's some things that teams can do and some things that teams can't do. So, I think that at this stage, those teams that are still in the hunt are the ones that are trying to make some moves, maybe enhance their pitching or generate some offense, and teams that are falling back are probably waiting it out a little bit just to see what happens as they get into July.
Still 2 balls, 2 strikes to Jeff Jenkins, 6-3 New York with 1 out, nobody on here in the 7th. Greg McMichael warming, and with the pitcher slot really not due up in the 7th inning, perhaps this is the last inning for Bobby Jones. Reached for, and Jenkins stays alive, still 2-2.
I find it somewhat ironic, Steve, and positive from the Mets perspective. The Marlins have gone one way, just get rid of everybody and dish the dollars. The Mets seem to be going the other way in order to do the same thing, and that's to make a business viable.
Well, it's interesting. Somebody asked me a question earlier today, and I think that we probably have benefited more than any other franchise, any other organization in what the Marlins have tried to do. We picked up Al Leiter, we picked up Dennis Cook, and because of what they're doing, we got Mike Piazza. I think that from a single season perspective, we like what's happened. They're in our division. They've gone backwards. I think from a big picture perspective about where the game's going, certainly I think nobody benefits from the World Series champ having to dismantle itself within a month and a half of the following season.
Much of it is personal. You and Dombrowski in Florida, the fact that you guys get along and like each other.
I think that's part of it. I don't think David would make a deal to do anybody a favor necessarily, but I think that because we communicate so well, I think we share probably more things with one another. I had a pretty good idea about what they were trying to accomplish in this trade, and because of our previous trade discussions, I knew where they thought they had depth in their system and where they thought they needed some help. I knew they needed right-handed power hitters in their system. They have some pretty good young left-handed hitting outfielders. And I knew they needed young pitching in their system because they had more position players than pitchers. So I think that benefited us in this respect.
Fly ball center field again. Brian McRae shielding the sun. One hands it. About the only way you can make a play like that. Hold the other hand up. Sometimes those sunglasses don't help. As you can see, Brian telling right fielder Rich Becker, I had to have my hand up. 2 outs here in the 7th.
Very high sky here today. There are virtually no clouds, blue sky, bright sun. When you get that, those balls coming down are tough to keep an eye on, especially if you don't get that shot right off the bat.
Yeah, everybody says use 2 hands and stay in front of it. A lot of times outfielders, because of the sun, they have to play the ball off to the side. As Mike Matheny takes ball 1. Mike 0 for 2 on the afternoon. 1-1 to Matheny.
Phone hasn't rung yet, but we're waiting.
No.
We're just
By the way, you
here.
can use WWR's credit card in a pitch.
We got a phone right here. And I told you we would not listen. If you cut the deal right here, we will not listen.
Fat chance of that. Brian McRae making all 3 catches today. Steve, thank you very much. I know it's been a very emotional week for you. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
We'll be right back after this from Nobody Beats the Wiz. Well, you'll have your chance. He's 1 for 3, and he leads it off here in the bottom of the 7th inning with the Mets on top 6-3. That's right, statuesque in appearance, and the breaking ball over for a strike. 0-1 to Mike Piazza. Mike singled with 2 outs and nobody on his last time up. Ground ball, shortstop, easy play for Loretta, and he throws out Piazza. 1 out here in the 7th inning. That will bring up John Olerud, the first baseman. Fans, Ginsana is the all-natural energizer. Find the energy. Feel your Ginsana. Fans here at Shea have found their energy. As Gary mentioned earlier, the first sellout since June of 1993. Folks that remember the rocking 80s, Mets fans, as this one is hammered into right field by Olerud. So John now 1 for 4, hit number 13 for New York. Remember the middle 80s when all the sellouts, the Mets drawing over 3 million. 2 years in that decade. The World Championship in 1986. And it may be short-lived, it may not be short-lived. But Mets fans trying to enjoy it while they can.
A big road trip for the Mets here. Eldred finally is going to get to leave this ball game. Mets can generate a lot of interest while they are away, with fans watching to see how it goes. They take off for Florida. They'll play there for 3 rather. Then they're going to have Philadelphia. Met fans probably will go down to see that one, and then the team goes on to Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh and then Boston to wrap it up, the longest road trip of the season. So it's 6-3 New York. Olerud at first with 1 out, and this call to the bullpen is brought to you by Omnipoint, and we'll be right back.
Well, Cal Eldred is not going to pick up a win here today, and could suffer his 4th loss. He's 0-3. He had a 6 1/3 inning, 13-hit attack against him with 6 hits, and it'll be Mike Myers, left-hander, 28-year-old, acquired from the Detroit Tigers. He had 88 appearances last year, 2 shy of the American League record, almost all of them in setup situations. A couple of saves and an 0-4 record last year.
With the Detroit Tigers, the side-arming left-hander will swing Carlos Baerga around to the right side. Carlos not as good a hitter right-handed as left-handed. Today left-handed. Carlos with 2 doubles, 2 runs scored. And the breaking ball is high to Baerga. Carlos batting only 172 as a right-handed batter this year. If Bobby Valentine puts Olerud in motion at first base. John is not a fast runner, perhaps the slowest regular in the National League, but speed is not one of the prerequisites of the hit and run. Myers perhaps thinking the same thing. This one hit to left center field and deep. Back is the left fielder. Jenkins gone. Home run, Carlos Baerga. 8-3 New York.
Baerga last year had only 1 home run off left-handers. He's got 2 off them this year and 4 total. He went down and got that one and drilled it to left field. A 2-run shot for Baerga.
Butch Husky now the batter. And the breaking ball in there. Butch pinch hitting for Matt Franco. Matt Franco with a good day. An RBI, a run scored, and 2 for 3. The Mets had hammered out 14 hits this afternoon. Baerga, remember, with only 59 RBIs last year. He's ahead of that pace and has been red hot in the month of May. Batting right around 350, 17 RBIs, 3 home runs this month. There's a fastball strike to Husky, 1-2. 8-3 New York. Mets trailed 3-1, but came back with 5 in the 4th, 2 here in the 7th inning. A single by Olerud. That chased Cal Eldred, and a beaming Baerga, who has 2 doubles and a dinger today. Wow.
Ooh, hitting the ball hard.
Husky deep to right center field. Burnett's back to make the play. Well, Butch Husky sends Jeremy Burnett to the track, and that'll bring up Rich Becker, who's slated to hit. But Louis Lopez will be the pinch hitter. So Husky will go to right field in Becker's stead, and Lopez will go to third to shore up the Mets defense.
Brewers staff had not given up a home run in the last 5 ball games. In this one, that long shot by Baerga will break that.
Breaking ball is outside. You look at Phil Garner, you can't help but think if the Brewers were 1 player away from, say, acquiring a guy like Piazza, and Milwaukee can't afford it. What's going to happen to the disparate situations with Major League Baseball teams? The rich and the poor and no middle class.
Like society as a whole.
8-3 Mets after 7. Back after this from Omni Point. Tim McCarver, Gary Thorne here at Shea. A packed house. That's right. Mike Piazza influenced crowd here, seeing their Mets leading 8-3.
Greg McMichael will come on for Bobby Jones. Jones very effective in this game. McMichael on with a hold situation, and Jones a chance to win this ball game and pick up his 3rd consecutive win and 4th of the year. See the numbers for Greg McMichael on the season.
As we predicted, Louis Lopez stays in the game. He pinch hit for Rich Becker, so he goes in at 3rd, and Butch Husky stays in the game and takes Becker's place in right field. Matt Franco and Rich Becker out of there. Greg McMichael in there. McMichael, of course, will have to hit in the 9-hole, but the Mets have a 5-run lead. Not worried about double switches in this situation. And Bob Hamlin comes out to pinch hit for Mike Myers, the pitcher. Hamlin with the Detroit Tigers last year. Came up with the Kansas City, or in the Kansas City system. A lot of power, and he takes a fastball inside. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, Bobby Jones continues to put up some really impressive numbers, even though with a win here he'd be 4-3. He didn't walk anybody today, struck out 6, gave up the 7 hits in 7 innings. He's keeping that hit per inning ratio down. Doing a great job. Mets are 6-4 in his starts coming into this game, but he's effective.
Bring up an interesting point. A man that I learned a ton of baseball from, and a former teammate. As Hamlin takes outside, it's 3 balls and no strikes. McMichael cannot find the plate yet. Kenny Boyer was the captain of the Cardinals and the MVP in 1964 when Cardinals won the World Championship against the Yankees. There's a strike to Hamlin. Kenny used to say that one of the really quality traits about a good starting pitcher, primarily starting pitcher, was that they stay away from big innings. Ground ball to right field, and that's a base hit for Bob Hamlin. And I think that's what you're talking about with Bobby Jones. You see often that Bobby will pitch 7 innings, give up 8 hits, but the hits are spaced enough away and apart that a team does not have a chance to muster a lot of big innings against them. It seems like the home runs they come in to add on. Maybe it's not 1-0 now, it's 2-0. A lot of solo home runs.
No 18 walks on the year now and 58 innings pitched.
Fernando Vina. Fernando with 2 hits and 3 trips, and fouls back the fastball from McMichael.
Pretty amazing, Timmy. I'm not sure anybody would have said at any point in the year the Mets would have 3 of the top 10 ERAs in the National League. They do, coming into this game.
Al Leiter leads it. Masato Yoshi is 5th. And 8th is Rick Reed. Changeup is outside the Vina. Masato Yoshi will be starting in Wednesday night's game against the Florida Marlins. We will carry that game on Tuesday night. Dave Malicki against Andy Larkin. Matter of fact, the 2 games in Florida, Andy Larkin starting on Tuesday, Brian Meadows will be starting on Wednesday. And if those names are unfamiliar to you, well, that's the story of the Marlins over the last 8 months. A shameless dismantling of a major league franchise. 2 balls and 1 strike to Vina. This one hit down the right field line and foul. So it's 2-2 to Vina.
The amazing things to me, Timmy, is that Don Smiley, the president of that team, that sale has not gone through yet. I mean, it's still owned by Huizinga. I mean, it was supposed to have been done at the start of the year and then the first month, and it's still not done.
From my understanding, only when the payroll gets down to $16 million will it be transferred to Don Smiley and his group.
They've had trouble raising funds and just can't put enough away to justify any more payroll.
And the changeup gets Vina. 1 out here in the 8th inning. First strikeout for McMichael. That brings up Mark Loretta, the shortstop. Well, you know, it seems like Huizinga has taken all the heat in this thing, and how can he do that? He's almost held the fans in the South Florida area hostage because they're not building him a ballpark. That's the reason he dismantled the club. He's stated as much. Ground ball left side and through there. So Loretta with his 2nd hit. And the Brewers with runners on at first and second, 1 out, but the Mets are up by 5 here in the 8th inning. But what about the system that allows that to happen? I mean, that to me is a question that should be solved before everybody should come down on a guy like Huizinga. And speaking of the Marlins, they won today against Pittsburgh 4-3 on a nobody beats the Wiz scoreboard.
I mean, Bud Selig said he went back and had his legal team researched all of the situations in baseball where trades were not allowed. Said he couldn't find any precedent to stop the Marlins from doing what they were doing.
Not even 1975 and Bowie Kuhn trying to peddle players. Vida Blue, Joe Rudy. two that I remember. I forgot the third. I think Raleigh Fingers was the third one.
He said that was because those deals were all for money, where you were selling players, and they could stop that, but that they couldn't stop trades.
Yeah, well, anybody. I mean, my gosh, if you don't think those trades were about money, what are you thinking about?
Yeah,
I mean, the contracts of Gary Sheffield, Bobby Bonilla, Jim Eisenreich, Charles Johnson in a couple of years is going to be a free agent and make a ton of money. And Mike Piazza, the reason that he was traded was because his contract was over $100 million, or asking price was over $100 million. So, I mean, you mean to tell me that because the trades in the middle 70s included money, or on money sold players only, that these trades work because of money?
God. A nice out, but doesn't make much sense.
Nice try. Jeremy Burnitz, 1 for 2, an RBI, his 38th of the year. And he fouls this one off. So Jeremy in the hole, 1 ball, 2 strikes here in the 8th inning. Mel Rojas, the right-hander, Dennis Cook, the left-hander. Fastball by him. That's the thing about Greg McMichael. He throws so many off-speed pitches that when a hitter does see that fastball, it looks twice as fast. 2 outs on his second strikeout.
Michael's a great guy to bring in when you've got the guy in front of him being a flamethrower. Not that Bobby Jones is that, but if you put those two things together and McMichael comes on and his changeup looks like they're going about 2 miles an hour.
That's an interesting point because the Mets have a lot of different look type pitchers. Al Leiter throws a cutter inside. Yoshi has the splitter. Bobby Jones has standard equipment. Dennis Cook primarily hard stuff, most left-handers. Mel Rojas with the splitter, fastball. John Franco with the changeup tailing away. So from one pitcher to the next in a game, one of the reasons for the Mets' effectiveness as a pitching staff, they're different types of looks.
That's great. Well, you want that. You don't want everyone in your staff looking the same.
No.
You bring in guys from the bullpen who are doing the same thing as starters are. Your hitters are already lined up to hit that sort of pitch.
Jeff Cirillo, the third baseman, is 1 for 3 with an RBI single in the third, and the fastball misses outside. Ball 1. Good change up on the corner. 1-1 to Cirillo. Jeff, 29 years old, and Gary, I remember that first day we were wandering through the Milwaukee locker room. The first game, we thought he was a bat boy. I mean, he's got the youngest looking face of any 29-year-old that I've seen in a long time. Of course, there he's got his game face on, but when you see him, he's this unassuming young man with a real teenager's face. 2 balls and a strike to Cirillo.
28 years old, and he looks about 10 years younger than that. Like that.
That's Bat Boy. Changeup misses outside, so Cirillo in a favorable count. The Mets up by 5, but Milwaukee with 2 on, 2 outs. And Dave Nilsson, who's already homered, is on deck. But should Cirillo get on, you know Bobby Valentine is not going to allow McMichael to pitch to Nilsson. Not with Cook warming. Grounded foul, 3-2, so that means the runners will be off. 3-2, 2 out. There go the runners. Change up fouled away. So still 3-2. And the runners will go back and do it again. Get your running in here.
It's another problem Phil Garner was talking about, and it's happened to him today. Everything he talked about before the game is, he said, our starters are way off. We're not getting good starts out of guys. Eldred had a tough start today. He said, as he put it, said our base running antics, he called them.
Boy, Friday night, an example of that.
Then we get two guys at second base here earlier in this game.
Yeah, right. Another one fouled back. That is such a vital part of a team's offense is base running. And unfortunately, there are some major leaguers who think that their job begins and ends at home plate. I guess technically that's true, but what's in between is that lap around the bases, and you've got to know what you're doing. Phil Garner very upset with his runners. Jeremy Burnett's at fault this afternoon.
Stopped at second and had the guy who got a hit behind him come right up on him at the bag and ended up being the out at the end of the inning.
Jeff Cirillo had single to right field. They scored one. Had a chance for others. Ground ball toward third. Lopez cuts in front of Ordonez to make the play. Still 8-3 New York. Middle of the 8th. Back after this from infinity.
Well, the New York Mets won yesterday in the first game Mike Piazza played, and they've got a chance to win one here. Piazza's not been the story of this ball game, 1-for-4. The fans certainly have made him part of that here with all kinds of signs and big ovations for him, even when he has popped out. The Mets will say the third Milwaukee pitcher of the game. Myers worked 2/3 of an inning, giving up that home run to Carlos Baerga, charged with one of the runs that came in on the homer. And Al Reyes will come out of the bullpen. He'd been warming up earlier in the game, and he'll come on for Myers. So Milwaukee goes too deep into the pen here as we go to the bottom half of the 8th inning.
And Rey Ordonez leads it off for the Mets. As you see the numbers for Al Reyes, no relation to Dennis Reyes, the left-hander who pitches for the Los Angeles Dodger organization. And the fastball to Rey Ordonez is outside, but Rey took a hack at it anyway. Rey 1 for 2 on the afternoon. He walked and scored a run in the 5-run 4th when the Mets took the lead, and they've been in front since. Left field, and at the distance, fouled by about 4 feet. So Rey Ordonez flirting with his second major league home run. He had one last year.
That's his kind of pitch. He loves going after those pitches that are up and oftentimes out of the strike zone. And that time he was able to get around on that. It looked like some kind of an off-speed pitch Reyes threw him that time. Kind of hung that one.
Looked like a splitter, didn't it?
Yeah, it didn't do anything. Stayed right up there, and you see him double clutch and got around on it with foul ball.
Similar pitch, and Ordonez down on strikes. So a pinch hitter for the pitcher, Greg McMichael. It's Jim Tatum. Greg McMichael giving up 2 hits, allowing no runs, striking out 2. And since there's a break in the action, ought to be a great time to break for the great taste of Bud Light. It's a big hit with fans everywhere because it won't fill you up and never let you down. So make it a Bud Light. Jim Tatum takes a slider for a strike from Reyes. Foul back, 0-2 now to Tatum. Major League dugout, the floors of a dugout, disgusting at the end of 8 innings. That's normal.
Don't walk barefoot.
No. That's why they have spikes. Keep it above everything.
It'd be on stilts.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Tatum.
Everybody in the Mets lineup had at least 1 hit today in the starters, including Bobby Jones, who got his first 2 hits of the season. Two and 2 now to Jim. Bobby Jones hitless coming into the game. He was 0 for 13. He went 2 for 3 today. Ground ball towards short. Backhanded nicely by Loretta. And he throws to first, and missing the tag was Dave Nilsson.
Well, it looks like it could be a rare tagging error on Nilsson.
Take a look here at the throw made by Loretta. Pulls Nielsen off the bag, but he had the runner well in front of him, and Tatum stays within the base running path to go around and gets to the bag, and Nielsen just never touched him. They're going to call the error for the moment, at least, on the shortstop Loretta.
And Brian McRae, the batter. Brian 1 for 3, the biggest hit in this ball game. The double that plated 3 runs with the bases loaded and 1 out in the 4th inning. That was a big hit in that inning and ball game. Brian with 12 doubles on the year, and he hits this one down the right field line, but just foul. I mean, Nilsson, when you think about it, he had time to make the tag. It's rare that an infielder would get an error on a tag play, but it seemed like the shortstop Loretta got the ball to Dave in time, but nifty piece of base running by Tatum to avoid the tag. Fastball right down the pipe surprises Brian, and he's down on strikes. So that'll bring up Bernard Gilkey. Bernard with a good day. He's 2 for 4 with an RBI double in the 4th.
Bernard Gilkey.
Second strikeout for Reyes. And a strike on the corner. Good fastball from Rafael Alberto Reyes. Makes us home in Santo Domingo. Hammered to left center field. Back is the left fielder Jenkins. He can't get to it. Tatum will be held at third. Gilkey with his second double and third hit of the ball game, and that'll bring up Mike Piazza.
Bernard's been taking extra batting practice as he had a 2 for 15 on the homestand coming into this game, and it clearly paid off. 3-hit day for Bernard Gilkey with 2 doubles, a single, and an RBI. He lifted that one into that power alley in left center.
So an opportunity for the man who drove in 124 with the Dodgers last year to do more damage to the Brew Crew. High, ball 1. Mike 1 for 4 on the afternoon, 2 for 8 with the Mets. He had an RBI double in yesterday's game. Up the middle, fielded nicely by Reyes, and he throws out Piazza. Still 8-3. New York after 8. Back after this from BMW.
Mel Rojas will come on and try and complete this game for the New York Mets. Bobby Jones would get the winner, and if he can do that with the Mets on top 8-3. Michael worked an inning, no runs, a couple of hits, and 2 strikeouts. And now Rojas. Mel last appeared 4 days ago against Cincinnati, worked an inning. Gave up 1 earned run on 2 hits in that game. There are his numbers on the season. 19 2/3 inning pitched, 21 hits off him, 1.83 the ERA. Has only had a couple of save opportunities, 1 for 2, now used, of course, in a setup role by Bobby Valentine.
So Mel Rojas, who obviously is not in a save situation here, but has reemerged as an effective relief pitcher after being traded for last year in late July. You may remember Lance Johnson, Manny Alexander going to the Chicago Cubs. Rojas, McRae, Turk Wendell coming here. Not received well with the Mets. 1-5 for New York last year, and Dave Nilsson pops it up on 1 pitch here in the 9th. Ordonez squeezes it. One out. Marquise Grissom coming up.
I mean, that's got to drive Phil Garner crazy. I mean, granted, they're behind here by a score of 8-3, but here you are. You got 3 outs to work with. Nielsen comes up against a guy he hasn't faced in the ball game and goes after the first pitch.
What really, I agree with you, because Scrap Iron, the nickname for Garner as a player, was that type of player that would take a strike when his team was trailing by 5 runs. 1 ball, no strikes to Grissom, and Grissom, the right-handed batter, has to end up taking the strike instead of the left-handed batter facing the right-handed pitcher who takes the strike. 1-1 to Grissom. Ball 2, 2 balls and a strike to Marquise. Fouled away, 2-2. Interesting graphic there, playing with 4 teams over the last 4+ years. Of course, anybody who starts their career out in Montreal can expect
go somewhere.
As Mark Grudzielanek will probably be traded before the year's out. This year, they're fine shortstop. Splitter is low. Full count to Marquise Grissom. High chopper. Lopez will have to hurry, and in trying to do so, drop the ball. It'll be an infield hit for Grissom. No chance to get Marquise unless you make a very, very quick-handed play.
Either have to barehand that ball, or you got to get it out of your gloves almost before you get it, and that's what Lopez tried to do. It is an infield single picked up by Marquise Grissom. Lopez has got really quick hands, so if he can't do that down there, it's probably not going to get done.
And a pinch runner for Marquise Grissom. You don't ordinarily see this, but with Grissom nursing a pulled hamstring, Eric Owens comes in to pinch run in this 5-run ball game. Bill Garner does not want further damage to be done to Grissom. Here's Jeff Jenkins, the left fielder. Line drive, speared by Ordonez. Looked at first, but no way you're going to double off anybody since the Brewers trail by 5. 2 outs here in the 9th.
Ordonez had to come back the other way. They put the shift on that time on Jenkins. Moved him way over towards second base. See Ordonez in your picture there at the bottom. If he isn't moved over that way, though, he wouldn't even make that play. That'd be a base hit.
Like Jenkins hit that ball with a shovel.
Broke the bat on it, too. Or the shovel.
Two inches off the line, or off the ground. Mike Matheny is 0 for 3. And it's 0-1 to Matheny. The Mets need 1 more out, and Bobby Jones will win his 4th game of the year, and Mike Piazza will be 2-0 as a Met. Good splitter to Matheny. 0-2 to Mike. Swing, and the Mets got him, and that closes out the Brewers as the Mets sweep. Mets have an off day tomorrow, and then they head to Florida for a couple of games down there. 3 in Philly, 3 in Pittsburgh, and then 3 in Boston. They return in a couple of weeks.
First time this season the Milwaukee Brewers have been swept in a series, and for the New York Mets a very successful homestand. 6-1. The bats came alive for them, and it all went wrong for Phil Garner. The Mets will take it. An 8-3 win to wrap up the sweep of the Brewers.
Bobby Jones the winner. Cal Eldred is 0-4 now, and we'll be right back with some of the wrap right after this from Audi. Tim McCarver, Gary Thorne back at Shea Stadium, where the Mets have just completed the sweep of the Milwaukee Brewers. First time this year that the Brew Crew has been swept, as Gary said, and altogether a terrific homestand for New York.
Well, Timmy, they're doing what clubs do when you win, and that's everybody's getting their job done here. The New York Mets bats have come alive during this homestand. They struggle on the road to score. The Mets starting staff has been strong all season long, and they've continued to do that. Bobby Jones, another excellent outing here today for the Mets. The bullpen has come through when they've needed them in hold situations here. I mean, everything has gone right during this homestand, and now with Piazza and the adrenaline flowing, can they keep this going on a long road trip coming up? That's the next question.
We were kidding Steve Phillips between innings, saying that the timing of the Piazza trade was so bad because Mike only had a chance to play 2 games here for the Mets before the Mets go on the longest road trip of the season.
He's going to think this is all too easy.
That's exactly right.
But as we said, though, that will give him a chance to get to know the members of this ball club on the road with the players every day during this long trip. Chance to get acquainted also with the pitching staff and work with Bobby Valentine and the coaching staff on those defensive plays that we've talked about all year, because Bobby Valentine has instituted so many defensive variations for the Mets this season. It's going to take a while for Piazza to get used to that, and generally it's that job, that catcher's job, to start all of those defensive plays going. He relays a lot of signs to the infielders, so Piazza's got some catching up and homework to do in that department.
Normally you would think about the pitching staff of the Mets with 3 out of the top 10 in the earned run average, and I don't think you can discount that at all. You touched on how important the Mets starters have been, and when was the last time that a team had a big inning against a Mets starter? It's almost non-existent.
Yeah, that's not happening, so that obviously is always going to keep you in games.
Right.
And as a result of that, if the Mets bats can get going and be consistent again, then you're going to win ball games, and they did in the homestand.
Well, they got going today with 15 hits, and our play of the game, the Budweiser play of the game, is in the 4th inning with Brian McRae, the batter, and the bases loaded. A double to left center field that short hopped the wall, and Brian McRae sweeping the bases, and the Mets took the lead for good and beat the Brew Crew 8-3. Gary and I will be right back right after this from Dodge. Welcome back to Shea. Tim McCarver and Gary Thorne, where you've seen the Mets complete the sweep of the Milwaukee Brewers. And the winning pitcher today has won his last 3 starts. Bobby Jones is joining us in the studio. And Bobby, Gary and I, during the game, we're talking about the inability, or actually your ability, to stay out of big innings. Is that something you're conscious of doing?
Well, you know, I know I've had that trouble in the past, and I think that's a big key of staying in the ball game as a starting pitcher, is to stay away from those big innings. And you know, I was a little bit frustrated early on in the game. I didn't have my great control. I was a little bit wild in the zone. You know, not hitting my spots, but I was throwing a lot of strikes, and you know, I think that's something that I tried to do over the past couple years, is try to get away from those big innings, because I've always had those in the past.
Bobby, did you have to go through anything with Mike Piazza in particular here? I mean, with a new catcher, or anything you got to discuss prior to going out there to pitch today?
Yeah, well, you know, we just sat down for a few minutes before the game, went over the lineup, and basically, you know, I told him what I'm comfortable doing, where, you know, when I'm behind the count, the left-handers, what I want to do. And basically, you know, I'm easy to catch. I think I'm easy to work with. I mean, I just like to go out there and mix it up. And you know, he did a great job of calling pitches, and we kind of meshed just like that.
Bobby, I was on some major league teams where pitchers were so effective that they became very competitive in a good way, kind of like the Atlanta Braves pitchers. Is that developing with the New York Mets starting staff?
Well, you know, I think our staff is very competitive. I don't know about amongst each other, but you know, each and every time we go out there, we want to go out there and do the best we can and give the team a chance to win. And I think you know, that kind of rubs off on everybody else when you have you know, those things happening where you're taking your team late into the ball game and you're giving them a chance to win. Then you know, each and every one of us want to go out there and do that, of course.
Bobby, thanks very much. Congratulations on the victory. Strong outing today for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Well, 8-3 and a winner.
Done.
What are we supposed to do here?
We're just going to say goodbye, actually.
All right, well, let's do that.
All right. Mets Baseball 98 has been brought to you by Jeep and Eagle. There's only one one Jeep, and it's at your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealer. By OmniPoint, 100% digital, 0% hassle. Call 1-800-BUY-OMNI. By Seagate, information the way you want it, preferably on time. And by Ford, expect more, get more. Let your Tri-State quality Ford dealer show you why there's more to afford. We invite you to be with us again on Tuesday. Note the start time, 7 o'clock. Mets will be visiting the Florida Marlins. We'll have it for you right here. Closed captioning of Mets baseball is brought to you by the company you count on, wherever life takes you. General Motors, people in motion. Mets baseball is produced and directed by Jeff Mitchell. The associate producer is Steve Olbaum. Associate director Larry Mann.